Hi, I'm Scott Hendricks with Applied Software, and today I have a service building tip for you in regards to design line and design line nodes. So what I'll do first is show you the problem we have, and then I'll show you a solution. We'll walk you through the steps on how to solve this particular problem. What I have on my screen are two examples of a design line, a couple different configurations of a toilet rough-in. And if we take a look at this first one, and I make this active and fill it with parts. Now, this is a waste service, so I have it filling by default, filling it with combination fittings. But where the toilet arm hits the waste, I want a Santee, and I got a vent coming off the top of it. But if I take the node and replace the node with a Santee node and fill it, it doesn't fill. And the problem is that this Santee doesn't come in that size. It doesn't come in a 3 by 2 by 3 size. So what it requires is for it to have a bushing, but it doesn't know to look for the bushing. So that is where this other button that I've built comes in. And I talked about this at AU a couple of years ago in a talk, but I thought I would revisit this and go a little more in depth and show you how to do this. So with this, we can take this button, and if we look at this button, there are no parts on this button. I'm simply using this button to place this particular code in that location where we want this to fill with. And then in my button mapping, we'll do something with that code. But this is what it will look like. We'll place that node there and then refill. So now we got our Santee and we got a bushing in here. It's piped the way we want it to. And how that worked is when it went to fill that location, it was looking for this SAN-T- red. And it came to this button, but there was no parts for it to fill with. So once it was finished looking through all the buttons, it went over to my button mappings and it found that exact button code. And in that button code, I told it to use a Santee with a bushing. So it tried it, everything fit, and so it filled. So that one's good. Let's take a look at this one over here. So we got a similar situation, except I got a wet vent involved in here, making it slightly more complicated. So as we fill, we got the same thing as last time, but we got two problems now. I got a Santee that's not filling. And we could place this in here and solve one situation, but then we still have the other situation up here. And in this situation, what I want is a Santee. I don't have a street Santee. I don't have enough room to put a regular Santee in. So I'm going to place my Santee here, and I can see that we need to make a change in sizes here. There we go, that's a little bit better. So we got our sizing right, we got our nodes in, but it's not filling. And the reason is, there's just not enough room. So we're going to pull it up until we have enough room for it to fill. And now we got all of our parts, but I have a coupling in here and a piece of pipe that I don't need. So what we need to do is push this line down just far enough to where it seats into this Santee. To do that, I'm going to select my design line, select the Santee that I want to move, and the santee that I'm going to move it into, I'm going to isolate those by selecting my isolate button. Now I'm going to make the change to this using multiple grip AutoCAD's multiple grip edit. So I'll select my santee, select my design line, and then holding my shift, I'm going to select both ends of the design line that I want to move, and I'm going to select the node from the street santee that I need to push down into the santee. And then I'm just going to click on that node for the santee, and I'm going to snap it into the node of the santee below it. Now, in order for that snap to show up, I'm holding down my shift right now so that snap shows up. And all that really did was move this line down to the perfect distance for this to fill correctly. I'm going to delete those parts that are on there and refill our design line. And now we can see that our street santee is seated just right into our santee. No extra parts and no extra fittings. Or no extra pipe and no extra fittings. So that's how I use these buttons. Now let's take a look at how we can create them. All right, I've cleaned up our service and deleted the buttons and the button mappings, and we're going to walk through the steps of creating this yourself. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to make an edit to our service. So we'll go into Edit Service and select the Service Information button. And we'll create some new buttons in here. Now, since they're going to be pretty close to the same as the santee button, I'm going to right click and copy that button and then paste it in. Then we're going to go into the button properties and remove the part that's associated with that. So now we have no parts on there. And right now the button code's the same since we made a copy, so we're going to make it slightly different and say that this is one with a reducer. So we've given it a different button code than the one before, and we'll change the name here to call this a santee node. And we'll hit OK. Now, right now it doesn't have any image, but we'll get to that in a minute here. We'll hit OK. Now we have the button built, but we need to build some button mapping so that design line knows what to do when we place that node in there. So come over to our button mappings, and we are going to create a new one. And in here, we're going to put the exact code that we put on the button, which was san-t-red. So that's the code we used on our button. And anytime it's looking for that code, we're going to tell it two other codes to use. First, we want it to use our santee, and then we want it to put a bushing. Now, when you do this, your button codes may not be the same, so you may have to go in and look and see what the button code is on your santee and see what the button code is on your bushing and put them in this order. And then I'll place it in my button mapping where I'd like it to go. I have an area here that I have miscellaneous. We're going to keep that at. And we'll hit OK. So now we have the button mapping. Let's give it a test run to see if it works. So we fill, we get our combination fitting. We will place our button code on the design line, and it fills. Okay, we're good. Last step is, that's not a very good image. let's get a button image on there so our users know what it is. To do that, I'm going to right click in here and bring up the button report. And in our button report, we'll locate the button that we just created, which is right here. We can see that here's the button code. And what we'll need to do is put the path to the icon we want for our button, put the path in there. So let's go get our path. I'm going to go into my database, and I would recommend putting your images for these buttons in a folder called images. So yours may be in your database, images. I have mine going to a folder called resources, but in there somewhere you're going to find a folder called images. And in here I have placed the image that I want to use for the button. But all I need to pull is the path to that button. So I'm going to hold down my shift on my keyboard, and I'm going to right click on that image, and I'm going to copy that as a path. And I'm going to come into my button report. We're going to paste that path in and just remove the quotation marks. So now for that button, it's going to look here for its image instead of looking in the default location in the folders. We'll hit OK. And if we switch tabs and then back, there we go. Now we have a nice button image for our new design line node button. And you just repeat this for the one with the street. I've used it for several different things. Dampers, or shall I say taps with a damper is a good instance, so that I can have some dampers without taps and some with taps. I think there's a lot more uses with this. So hopefully we've given you everything you need so that you can make your own design line node buttons and make drawing with design line much easier. I hope this has helped. Thanks a lot.